Hello guys, and welcome to this video. In today's video, I'm going to answer a few questions about my upcoming book, Package It or Lose It, and the framework that I've shared in this book called EIF Thinking. EIF is spelled E-I-F. So here's the first question. What is EIF Thinking? A single line answer is EIF Thinking is a 7-step framework designed for only one purpose. It is designed to help you package your experience and monetize it. Let's move on to the second question. Now this is going to be a little bit elaborative because this answer has two parts to it. First, why thinking, right? Now there are two frameworks which has transformed my life, my career, me as an individual also in many ways. One of them is design thinking. Now I know this one framework, when I learned about it, it allowed me to design and deliver innovation workshops in Fortune 500 companies like Sony and Honeywell. The same design thinking principles allowed me to later become a coach to entrepreneurs, a business coach to entrepreneurs, both existing and aspiring. And same goes for the other framework, that is lean thinking, which is from Taichi Ono and Toyota Production System, etc. Right? So design thinking and lean thinking, they have transformed me and made me the person I am today. The way I can think, the way I can solve problems, the way I can design and deliver value to my customers, right? Thanks to these two. So anytime I was creating a framework that is going to be industry shifting, it was supposed to have thinking in it, right? Now why EIF? Because this journey that I'm talking about, right, it has two stages. 7 steps, yes, but 2 major stages. Stage 1 is where we start with your experience. That's why it starts with E. E stands for experience, and your experience is the seed for this entire engine. I call EIF Thinking, right? It's like the petrol for this engine. So that's why it starts with E, which stands for your experience. Then we have I. I is intellectual property, right? So the stage 1 of the journey is how do you take your experience and convert that or package that into intellectual property. Stage 1 of the journey. Stage 2 is the journey which starts with I, the intellectual property, and ends with F, which stands for freedom. And here I'm talking about 3 types of freedom: financial freedom, task freedom, and time freedom. So how do you leverage your intellectual property, which is uniquely yours, which uniquely identifies you in a sea, not even a sea, in an ocean of professionals? Your framework is supposed to uniquely identify you, right? So how that intellectual property can be used to help you achieve your freedom, financial, task, and time freedom. That's the second stage of the journey. So EIF kind of encapsulated beautifully this 2-stage journey: experience to intellectual property to freedom. That's why I used EIF, EIF Thinking. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Well, why now? See, this is exactly what I have been coaching to professionals, right? How do you build a personal brand? How do you take your experience and package it into intellectual property? That's what I've been doing over the last 1 decade, right? But why did I decide to make it public in a book which then is available to thousands of people, if not millions, right? That is because over the last 6-7 months, I have had a lot of news. You must have seen them on the newspapers, on the website of news channels. Accenture decides to fire 11,000 employees. TCS decides to let go of 6,000 people, right? So Microsoft, Intel fires, right? Every company is restructuring so that it can deliver the maximum value to its customer with minimum effort, human minimum, or the minimum team size, right? How do you maximize your output with the minimum team size? By leveraging AI, of course, right? So this is the beginning. This is the starting point. A lot of professionals are going to lose their jobs. A lot of new professionals are going to get jobs also. But my focus is on my client group, which is basically people with 15, minimum 20 years of experience and above. And as they say, in the IT sector, if you are getting fired at 45 or 50, you're basically retiring, or a forced retirement, right? So that's a lot of experience getting underutilized or getting thrown out into the market with no further use. I want these professionals, you guys, to learn how to package and monetize your experience. That's why now I thought is the best time, 2025, 2026, and the next 5 to 10 years. These are going to be absolutely critical for this framework to come out and empower people in the process of packaging and monetizing their experience. Okay, so I think that's why now. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, 7 steps to describe them. I have written a complete book, right? But I'll try to keep it as minimum as possible, right? So it is 7 steps. Step number 1 is called mapping. This is where we take your decades of experience, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades of experience, and put it into a map. I call this the IP discovery map. The goal is to basically put in the map 3 things with one rule. 3 things are your wins, your failures, and your turning points. Events that change the trajectory of your career, of your income potential, of your professional journey, right? Wins are, of course, wins. Failures are basically the lessons that you have learned and then implemented those lessons or leveraged those lessons in the future projects to deliver bigger success, right? So we are going to capture all of that in a map called IP discovery map. That's why stage 1 or step 1 is called mapping. Rule here is we are not trying to capture your opinion. What is a win, what is a failure, and what is a turning point? We are looking for evidence. Why this is a win, why that is a failure, and what was the lessons learned, and why that was a turning point. We are looking for evidence, not opinion. From there, we move on to step 2, where we focus on something called identifying. So over a career spanning 2 to 3 decades, there is a huge bunch of problems you have solved. Problems related to people, processes, sales problems, marketing problem, branding problem, operations related problems, project related problems, customer related problems, all kinds of problems, right? But when you are trying to package and monetize your experience, you cannot focus on all the problems. So step 2 is where you identify that one problem that you want to be known for, that this guy is the best at solving this one problem. This is critical for building your personal brand. So stage 2 is identifying, and here the output is something called your problem promise paradigm. So what is the problem and what is the promise you're making? You're putting them together, right? There's a structure to it, there are templates to it, but this is what is the output, problem promise paradigm. So stage 3 or step 3 is where we start codifying your experience, right? Codifying means we look at this one problem that you have identified and how many times you have solved this in your career, and what are some repeating steps that you have been using to solve this problem over the last decade or 2 decades or 3 decades, right? So we have to codify them, meaning we have to give them a structure and a sequence, right? So that's what codification means. Take those repeatable steps that guarantee the result, right, that you are promising, and then give them a structure, give them a sequence, right? So the output of stage 3 codifying is the experience deconstruction grid, right? This is where we take your experience, find the patterns, structure them, sequence them, okay? Step 4, following codification, is packaging. Excuse me. But packaging means how do you package your intellectual property or this framework. You can package it into a book, allow thousands and millions of people to read it. You can package it into a digital course and allow people to purchase it and go through your steps, right? You can package it into a newsletter, which is one of my favorites, right? Where you take people every week, once or twice, or one article every day. Your frequency is your choice. You take them through this journey of going through your framework, right? And help them, guide them, assist them in leveraging the framework to achieve the results you have promised that your framework will deliver, right? So newsletter, for example, if you have a weekly newsletter where you charge $10 per month, right? And 2 editions are coming out every week, right? You have $10 per month, and in a period of 6 to 12 months, right? If you can gather 1,000 subscribers, people who are interested in your work, people who want to know how to solve this problem, they want to learn from you, right? Through your newsletters, then you have $10,000 coming in every month. So that's the easiest way to make money using your experience. But that's one way. There are multiple ways, right? So how do you package your experience? Also, in packaging, you also decide on the name of your intellectual property, right? 7 habits of highly successful people, right? 4 P's of marketing. So, or Simon Sinek's Golden Circle, or Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So how do you name your framework? That's also part of packaging. So format into which we are packaging and naming. That's what is the step 4, packaging. And the outcome here is your signature, I call it signature structure builder, right? So this is what we do in step 4. Step 5, after you have packaged, is called proofing. Now you share your package to the world. Very selected few customers, selected few members, individuals, and then guide them and assist them, as I said, to achieve those results that you promise. Now, when they use your framework, use your intellectual property to achieve the result that you have promised, you are creating success stories for your framework. Those success stories, those testimonials, those customer created content or user generated content, as we call them, UGC, that is your marketing collateral. That is what you are going to use to let more and more people know what is possible because of this framework in their life, right? So that's why this is going to be very important. And the output of this stage is called transformation proof package. So step 5 is where we gather the proof and we call it transformation proof package. The next is positioning. This is where you identify your ICP, your ideal customer persona. What is the unique value that you're going to deliver to them? This is basically where you model your entire business using a business model canvas or some other model. You use your intellectual property to create a monetization pack or monetization blueprint. How are you going to now make money out of your intellectual property? This is what is step 6. Okay, we call it positioning. And the output here is your monetization blueprint. Step 7 is where we are talking about scaling. How do you now scale it, right? For that, we need a few legal things, like how do you copyright your framework? How do you trademark your main, what is it called? The name of the framework or the visual designs that you have created for your framework. How do you trademark them, etc., etc. So basically, we are thinking about making your framework safe and convert that into your legacy, something that lasts well beyond you, and even when you are not in the room, it's generating value for your customers, the promised value, right? So those are the 7 steps. Mapping ends with IP discovery map, then identifying ends with your problem promise paradigm, then codifying ends with your experience reconstruction grid, then we have packaging, where we ended with your signature structure builder. Then we have proofing, transformation proof pack. And then we have positioning, which ended with your monetization blueprint. Then we have scaling, which ended with something I call the IP protection and legacy plan, right? So that's in brief what if thinking is. I hope it is simple enough for you to understand. I hope it is valuable for you to at least start thinking in that direction, right? So let's move on to the next question. Yeah, so two things about the book that is very important, I think you should know, is package it or lose it. This book is not going to be available for purchase anywhere in the world, not on any platform. That's fact number one. Fact number two is anyone, anywhere in the world can read this book for free, but there is a process to it. And how you can read this book, that I'm going to explain in the next video. So subscribe to the channel, hit a notification button so that next time the video comes in, which will be in a couple of days, you are notified and you can read this book for free, because I'm not going to sell this book on any platform. Next question, please. Okay, so since I'm not releasing it on any platform, I have the freedom to, decide when to finish. But currently the book is almost finished. So I should be able to finish this book by October end. But the collateral that I'm creating for marketing, the shareable collateral, that is going to be done by November 10th, I guess. So between October 30th, 31st to November 10th, in between that, I will release this book for public consumption. And as I said, how you can read this book for free, that is going to be a challenge, and that challenge I'll describe in the next video. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for joining me in this video. And I hope it was valuable for you. I hope you had some food for thinking. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care and be limitless.